Chunrong has given an ultimatum to the carmaker's automotive parts suppliers: cut prices by 30% by year-end, or Proton will take its business somewhere else. Second Meeting Minister Ong Kah Chuan told Nanyang Siangpao the car manufacturer may consider sourcing its automotive parts elsewhere in order to gain competitiveness. Ong pointed out that Proton is buying automotive parts at 30% premium from market price, with the cost ultimately borne by consumers. So getting suppliers to cut prices could reduce Proton's operating costs, which will translate to cheaper cars. That or Proton could go into making its own automotive parts. Ong was quoted as saying that the car maker is also looking into acquiring a piece of land in Tanjung Malin, Perak, measuring 1,500 acres. This plot would be developed into an auto parts industrial zone, which could serve not just Proton, but Geely and Volvo as well. Lotte Chemical Titan ended the fourth quarter on a strong note, boasting a 30% increase in profits due to lower taxes and higher non-operating income. Earnings came in at 378.15 million ringgit, up from 290.86 million a year ago. Revenue meanwhile dipped 1.3% to 2.12 billion ringgit. This was due to reduced plant load at its Indonesia polyethylene plant and drop in sales volume of byproduct. The group recommended a first and final dividend of 23 cents per share. Prospects-wise, the group expects its performance for FY18 to remain positive. It says the petrochemical market should stay resilient in the near term, with demand growth outpacing the rate of new supply addition in the region. Production output should be normalized and has not planned a major plant shutdown next year. Public bank shareholders are laughing all the way to the bank. The banking stock climbed to a record high of 22 ringgit 36 cent in the morning sessions today amidst renewed interest in banking stocks following a hike in OPR last week. For an investor who bought 10,000 public bank shares at 15 ringgit per share 5 years ago and has held on to the shares until this point, his investment would have earned him a total return of 70.6%, which is inclusive of the cash dividends received during the period and reinvested into the shares. By the end of the day though, the blue chip paired gains to close at 21 ringgit and 98 cent. In a note on Friday, Affin Hwang Investment Bank said Hong Leong Bank and Public Bank were among clear-cut winners of the interest rate hike. This is due to the bank's high variable rate loan portfolio and after considering both groups' CASA ratio. MBSV's net profit almost tripled in the fourth quarter as the group saw lower cost of funds and lower allowances for the impairment losses on financing, loans and advances. Earnings stood at 123.98 million ringgit, up 172% from 45.65 million ringgit previously. Revenue was slightly lower at 818.27 million ringgit, 0.13% down from 819.4 million ringgit last year. It announced a single-tier final dividend of 5 cents per share. Going forward, MBSV said it's excited with the prospects of having a new platform upon completion of its merger exercise with Asian Finance Bank. Group President Ahmad Zaini Othman says, while the company will remain committed to doing what has always been profitable, for instance, affordable housing and SME penetration, rolling out new products in the immediate years shall be a very positive development for the new entity. MBSV is acquiring AFB in a 644.95 million ringgit deal, which will turn it into a full-fledged Islamic bank. The exercise is expected to be completed in March. Maxis, Axiata and Digi have each received a reissuance of their respective spectrum assignments from MCMC. The three telco giants said they have paid the upfront price of 118.4 million ringgit and an annual fixed fee payment of 50 million ringgit. Celcom Axiata was reissued its spectrum assignment in 1,950 MHz to 1,965 MHz and 2,140 MHz to 2,155 MHz. For Maxis, it was its 2,100 MHz spectrum assignment, comprising 2 of the 15 MHz FDD and 1 5 MHz TDD. And Digi was granted the reissuance of its 2,100 MHz spectrum assignment, which comprised 2 15 MHz. Each spectrum is valid for 16 years, effective April 2nd.